fall. So here we go again. It's a race to cut ties. The mental hopscotch has got us feeling paralyzed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to World 1-1 Podcast. This week with me, we've got Eddie V, the Chocolate Thunder Wonder from Down Under. How you doing?
Speed demon, speeding on the freeway, gotta get a leeway. Speed demon, doing good.
Why do you speed anywhere in Chicago? Looking for Chicago, that shit doesn't move.
Hey,
like 10.
I live an hour away from Chicago, so I can speed on the highway.
And also with us this week, our maple syrup chugging champion of the world, Adrian.
Hello, everyone. We're all doing
Good.
Fantastic. We're better now that you're here. We get you 2 weeks in a row. This is weird.
I know, eh? Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I always hate when I miss a recording session, especially for that long.
I know. You've been missed dearly.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
Yay!
So, this week, ladies and gents, I've got the reins, and we're going to be diving into a subject near and dear to my heart. I love me some futuristic racers, and we're going to be talking about it. But before we jump into it, I want to start, what's everybody been playing this week? Eddie?
I just finished Gears of War 2. My good friend and NBC Video Game Book Club co-host, Mr. Anthony Cantu helped me out. We started doing it on Xbox One, and we pretty much did maybe 90% of the game, and we was having a blast. And there was just some points of it I was just like, really, some of the stuff that I was seeing, I'm just like, they really just stretched this game out for no apparent reason. Like, it really felt like they just threw a story together just to make games. I mean, just to make the game and just to make stuff happen. I'm like, this could have ended a long time ago, but I did that. Started up Skyward Sword, and about to really dive into that. And then by the end of this week, or probably tomorrow, I'll be starting Gears 3, so I can finish the Gears trilogy before Gears 4 comes out.
Awesome.
Oh, and I also been playing Bravely Second on 3DS and Watch Dogs on PS4.
How is Bravely Second?
It's really good. It's funny. The voice acting is good. The grinding is still amazing. They added this new technique or this new reward system that if you finish a battle in one round, you can continue into the next battle to get more experience points and money. But the thing is that if you don't plan it out just right, you can really mess yourself up. So what ended up happening is that if you just bravely 4 times just to do attacks, and you finish in that round, it automatically rounds you up to the negative where you can attack for the next fight. So if you start off with it, you could get attacked like 4 times until you get back to 0. And I thought that was kind of cool, but I'm still just like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. In order to really use the job system that's in the game, you kind of have to know what you're doing in order to use this reward system better. Other than that, it's a really good game. I really dig into it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Adrian, what have you been playing?
Actually, Tony and I, we've started the Mighty Number 9 when it got released this week. And, yeah, we've been in 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 bosses already. We've just been, like, Skyping and talking while we're playing. The game, it's not what I was expecting, sadly, but it's not a bad game. Some of the reviews are kind of on point. However, it's getting a lot more shit than it's really supposed to get. The game is good, the game is fun, it's kind of hard and cheesy in some points. Makes you want to like just turn the Wii U and walk away. But it's still a solid game, so we've been having fun playing that. I don't know if we'll play tonight, but we're gonna finish it quickly, for sure.
Right on.
It's weird.
You haven't finished yet? You haven't gotten to those 4-hour credits?
No, we haven't. No.
On YouTube there is I gotta find out who it is. They've been doing a frame rate comparison between PS4 and Xbox One, and they've been breaking a whole bunch of stuff down. Like, you could graphically see, like, in the lighting on the PS4, you can see it better than the Xbox One. Like, they've been breaking a whole bunch of things, like the pros and cons of it. I'm like, wow, like stuff I didn't even know. And then they talk about, the frame rate dropping on certain times. So instead of it staying at a consistent 60, for both PS4 and Xbox One, it's been dropping to 40. And then they literally break everything down. I'm like, wow.
No, it is true. The game has some very big problems. There was a stage that Tony and I were playing a couple of days ago, on which, there was this very intense, basically like race that you're just trying to complete, and the frame drops a lot during one of the parts, which makes it harder to just plan ahead where you are and what to do next, right? So, just like I said, the game has some big issues. I think the only way to fix the damage is to release a second game that's just better.
Yeah, and if anyone wanted to check out Digital Foundry on YouTube, that's where it's at. They're doing the Mighty Number 9 comparisons. And the next one they're doing is the Wii U version. I really want this game. I really want to play it. We have copies at my job, so I might get a physical version. I don't think that it looks bad. I would say this. It's not bad as Sonic Boom is. So I don't know why Sega or Sonic's Twitter account really came after Mighty Number 9. I'm just like, hold on, wait, you've been having broken games, and don't nobody really want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, but I don't know how Sonic or on Twitter could come for Mighty Number 9 and say that something is better than nothing, and you still haven't fixed Sonic Boom. And then you're planning to release a game next year? Like, really? How buggy is that game going to be? Because if we look at the review ratings for Sonic the Hedgehog compared to Mighty Number 9, I bet you Mighty Number 9 has done better than most of the Sonic games.
I
don't think so.
On the back of what you said, Adrian, do you think we'll actually see another Mighty Number 9 game as many problems as this game had just finally getting out? You think we'll really see them push for another one?
Yeah.
I think they really need to. They need to make a second one, and it's mostly to. It's basically like the second game will have to be an apology, basically. Just saying like, hey, I know we screwed up the first time. We've done our homework, and we've learned from the things that we've done incorrectly, and just get a second game out. It's the same thing with Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom, they'll never fix Sonic Boom. They just have to make a second game that it's better. That's the only way you really can do it, right?
But the problem with that
just
is,
like one of my friends says, you're only as good as your second game. Sorry?
The problem with the Sonic Boom situation is that they said they weren't going to make another console Sonic game. So for them to even announce at San Diego Comic-Con that a new Sonic game is coming out, like, they moved the whole Sonic franchise to mobile. So I'm just like, how you guys going to make a game for a console, and we still waiting for the 3DS one with Fire and Ice. It's just like you said for Sega that y'all moved the whole Sega Sonic franchise to mobile. So for them to make another game for console, I would say this: if they do a second game to apologize for Mighty Number 9 for this debut thing, that's cool and fine. I think they just probably need to change the art style.
That's a big thing. I do not like that art style. I don't like the way it looks in motion. I don't like the way it looks in stills. It just, ugh.
Yeah, but like the art style is just one issue. The game has many, many more issues that are far more important than how the game looks that way.
Right.
Oh, great.
You can fix the art style, but it's like putting a suit on a goat. Still a goat.
Well, I think the art style will probably help the frame rate, and it will probably make the game a little bit smoother and a little bit faster.
Nope. It really won't. Trust me.
I think so. I think if they change the art style, they could probably do it and make it smoother. Because I think with them the game being on Unreal Engine 3, I don't know if the developers fully understood how that engine works, and I don't know if that's probably most of the problem with the delays.
They did. That was the problem. They know how Unreal 3 worked. The problem is that they just created Unreal 4 afterwards, and they like the other company just totally dropped support on Unreal 3 while they were still working on the game. So they had to basically like start flying blind after that with an engine that is not longer supported, and you have to make a bunch of modifications, not support whatsoever. It wasn't easy. Still, that's just one of the many issues.
But why not just use Unity? It seems that Unity is easier to program than Unreal Engine 3 or 4.
It will have cost a lot of money.
To do
It will have cost a lot of money.
To do Unity? Unity is cheaper.
Yeah, it is cheaper, but after you bought a bunch of Unreal 3 licenses, yeah, what are you gonna do? Like just drop them all off and buy a bunch of Unity licenses? It's not worth it.
Well, shoot, then probably would have made the thing look better. Cause like Unreal Engine 4 really doesn't look good. It looks sloppy and it looks muddy.
My question is, why do you need to push something like the Unreal Engine for Mighty Number 9? I'm looking at gameplay videos and I just go, this would have looked great if like the Behemoth had, just gotten their hands on it and, done that wonderful hand-drawn cartoon art style, that sprite look, instead of trying to 3D render everything and made it look just terrible.
Yeah, sadly, I don't think they should have gone for a 3D game. Honestly, if you go for 3D, like at least a polygon, like kind of like old school polygon wise, would probably be like a better choice. Just like Mega Man 7 or Mega Man Caraman or Mega Man X8, something like that. However, yes, Unreal is not known for 2D platformer games. So they should have probably gone for a different engine. No clue. I mean, they said that they knew how Unreal worked, and that's probably they were the most comfortable working with the engine. But yeah, it's.
You did tell me.
I mean, it happened already. The game is out. The problems are out there. The only thing they can do is learn and make a second game that it doesn't suck. That's all they can do now.
Well, here's hoping for that then.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. And anything else you've been playing through this week?
A little bit of Codename Steam for the book club. I'm not sure if I'll be able to beat it by next week, although I'm kind of pushing that right now. I also got the Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE, which I don't know if I'll start today, because I want to play some more Mighty Number 9 first. So I'll probably start that sometime next week. We'll see about that.
I have to buy the digital version because it didn't come to my job. We don't carry this game. I was super sad, dude. I was just like, where's Tokyo Mirage Session at? And then I thought about it. I'm just like, oh, we don't get Atlas games, even though Nintendo's publishing it. It's still an Atlas game, and we don't get it. I was just like, heartbroken.
Super lame. Damn.
That is really lame, yeah.
I mean, and I could go to Target, but I'm just like, well, yes, it'll be under my Nintendo account, so I might as well get points for it.
Yeah, maybe. It won't be of a choice. to be honest. So yeah, get them coins.
Exactly.
No, yeah, but I am very much looking forward to playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions as well. Just like Tony and I have been talking, we was like, hey, let's just finish Mighty Number 9 first, and then we will just like have more Skype sessions and just play Sharp FE while we're talking and stuff like that. And I kind of like that, but it kind of forces me to like just keep playing and not get distracted. Sometimes when I'm like playing something, like my phone rings, and then like I just turn and I start like just texting someone, and I just lose track of time, just turn the console off and move on to something else. But like yeah, when like Tony and I were playing, and it was just great because we're just like playing our own pace. We're always playing the same levels together, so we're like helping each other out. Like, hey, no, like change weapons around here, or a big weakness for the boss is this thing. Try this to beat him or something. And yeah, it was just like we played for I don't know, like a good 4 hours the first day, and it was just fantastic. It was just 4 hours of just Mighty Number 9.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
Tokyo Mirage Session is getting good reviews, and a lot of people have been enjoying it. So it's a possibility that, because I don't think it's sold well in Japan, but I think it's selling well here. Like, a lot of people are really giving it Game of the Year contender reviews. Like, and that's why I really can't wait to play that game.
that it's not selling well overseas. That just seems like that is the market for this game, more so than here in the States. But
you know what? Like, it is and it isn't. I think Japanese culture, or not Japanese culture, sorry, because that's not culture. Japanese anime is bigger here than it has ever been before.
In Japan.
No, here in America, I mean. It's bigger than it has ever been, right? Like, you have so many, like, anime conventions, and you have fantastic voice actors, and you have, like, great anime coming all the time, right? Like, the summer anime, it's one of the biggest things right now that I ever noticed before. And I think that's one of the reasons why Sharp FE is just selling so well, because it combines great music, great voice acting, great gameplay, right? And one of the companies that people love the most to make RPGs, and like, when you factor all those things together, you just have a great game that people here are just loving, right?
Yeah, like you said, Atlas actually sells more, I think, here in America and in Europe, because the thing with Atlas games, when they first was coming up with the RPGs, they were the hardest ones to get. If you didn't go to the store and buy a physical copy, you weren't getting it. There was no re-release, no future remix or anything. Once it's gone, that was it. So now that Atlas makes a lot of money, definitely on Nintendo systems, and probably more on the digital front, it just sells well in here, and plus they always put in a sale on their games, so that's more coins for Atlas and for Sega. I think we just needed an RPG fix after Xenoblade Chronicles X, and this was just perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, I that's one of the reasons why I went and bought it on release day. It was just because of that. I was just, you know what, like, I know I may not be able to play this game for like an extra week or so, but I don't want to take the chance of an extra week when I come back to the store and I won't be able to find it.
Right.
So it's just like I'll just like cut down some of my spending next week just to buy it this week, right? So yeah, I was just went and got it. I'm very excited to play it soon, though.
I cannot wait to get my copy. So excited.
So this week, actually, just earlier today, I polished off going through the Wii U HD version of Twilight Princess.
Yes.
Final assessment, I still like Twilight Princess better than Ocarina of Time. You can hate me all you want for it, but I still think Twilight was the better game. That being said, having played through the Wii U version, I think I liked the Wii controller setup better. I liked playing it with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. The whole time I was playing through this game, my thumbs kept trying to do the controls for the Wiimote, like trying to hit the D-pad, even though it was on the wrong fucking side, trying to hit the D-pad to like switch out items and everything, and it was weird to me. It wasn't terrible, it just, I couldn't unlearn it the whole time. On top of that, I think I liked having the pointer controls for things like my bow and arrow and claw shot much better than using the thumbstick on the controller. But that being said, it's still, it holds up. It's a great game. Mm-hmm. Story-wise was fantastic. Will always and forever adore that game. Like I said, I'm probably one of the few that will put that above Ocarina of Time, and you can hate me all you want for it, but between the two, it had the better companion character, it had the better story, and it had way more moments of badassery in it than Ocarina ever did. At least for me, for my money. But that's my experience with it. Beyond that, I also just stuck Skyward Sword into my console to start it. This earlier today too. Like, I finished Twilight, and I'm like, I need to play Skyward now, because just watching everything on Breath of the Wild from E3 makes me really think Breath of the Wild might somehow tie into or relate to Skyward. I've just got this hunch, and unfortunately, I've never gotten real far into Skyward. I bought it a couple of years ago, and I put it down because I bought it like 5 days before Mario Kart 8 came out, and then I picked up Mario Kart 8, I played the ever-living crap out of it, and I put Skyward down, and I never went back to it. So I'm starting fresh with Skyward, and initial impressions are, oh my god, the beginning is so much better than the beginning of Twilight Princess. Holy crap. The opening of Twilight, as much as I love that game, is still god-awful. The opening for Skyward was much, much more enjoyable to go through. It felt so much less just trudgy. Beyond that, I'm really anxious to start actually getting into the dungeons. I've heard very, very good things about it over the years.
Yes.
And I'm jonesing to play it. I'm itching to check out the story. It just, overall, it looks wonderful, and I don't know why so many people bitch about it. So, at least from the little bit that I've played so far, I'm like, I don't see the problem here. Frankly, I'm seeing a lot of things in this that I think are being picked up and expanded upon in Breath of the Wild, from what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. And, everyone's all excited about Breath of the Wild, and I still hear so much hate for Skyward. And I can't figure it out. That shit makes no sense to me, but I'll be working on it more this week, and we'll see what happens.
I'll probably play along with you, Larry, because like I said, since I started it up, I'm about to start the race with my bird, because I just got him back, so I'm still at the beginning. But yeah, I'm probably going to start with you, and I can't wait.
Further than you, truth be told. So.
I will say this. I still think it's one of the best Zelda games that I play. I love Wind Waker, I love Ocarina of Time, and I love Twilight Princess. I love The Legend of Zelda. I like Link to the Past, Link Awakening, and Link Between Worlds. Like, I just love the Legend of Zelda franchise, but I just think that something about Skyward Sword it's so breathtaking to me that I tell a lot of people that I put it as my number one Zelda. Now, Breath of the Wild is probably going to knock that out of the way once it come out, but yeah, there's just something about Skyward Sword that it just grabs me, and I can't wait for you to experience this game.
I'm excited to. I'm just getting into the Faron Woods. So, like I said, I'm not real deep into this yet, but I'm looking forward to finally actually getting through it, and I have a feeling that once I finish this, I'm probably going to finally take a crack at Wind Waker as well. Wind Waker's one that I've started a couple times, never got real far into, and always just put down and never finished. So I will probably get into Wind Waker after Skyward, assuming I'm not full on Zelda burnt out for a while. Beyond that, though, I went back to tinkering around with Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet on my 360 for a little while earlier this week as well, too, which I love. I think it's an adorable little game. It didn't get a whole lot of love when it came out. Everyone was expecting like this full-blown Metroidvania thing, and it's got that kind of feel to it, but it's not exactly that. It's kind of like Metroid with a UFO, if that makes any sense. And so, you're not constricted map-wise by, gravity, and so it's more to do with the mechanisms that you're attaching to your UFO. I enjoy it. I like the ambiance of the game, and I use that word very carefully because it's a game that isn't real heavy on super intensity. For the most part, it's really more about ambiance. But I like it. It's fun. The art style I thought was, while minimalistic, it looked really good for the game. Very enjoyable. I like how it delivers little snippets of video clips to tell what little story there is. Not that there has to be any, other than just it's a UFO and it's fun. But I like it. It's not terribly expensive. I don't think it deserved all the hate or all the negative reviews. Not even necessarily hate, but just like I said, it didn't review well when it came out. And for the life of me, I've played through it repeatedly before. And it's one that I will continue to go back to because I thought it was fun, and I just don't get why it didn't do as well as it did. But I think, much like Mighty Number 9, I think it had more to do with expectations of the game versus the reality when it came out.
A lot of games do that. Like, at that time, it might not review well, and people might just have different opinions and views about it. But I think if you give it like a couple of months, or wait for a sale maybe later down the line, or even like games with gold or PlayStation flash sale or something like that. If you go back to some of the older games, and you might actually end up enjoying it and just be like, I don't understand why people find a problem with it.
Yeah, once the hype trains left the station, it's suddenly more enjoyable. But yeah,
you know what? Like, expectation on games is always a big thing, but it's also the having too much faith on reviews, right? Like, for Mighty Number 9, yes, some of the reviews are kind of on point, but I still think it's a game you have to play first before passing judgment on it just because of a review. Just give it a try. I think the game digitally selling for like $20.
Yeah,
that's not a bad price for that game. I've been judging games from a price point perspective, just like Larry said, and like $20 for that game, it's not bad. Now, if you pay more than that, like 30 or 40. That's a bit steep. But 20 is not terrible. And
I probably end up paying like $24.99 or whatever it is at the store, like getting the physical copy, because I feel like I'd rather support this and see, just like you said, Adrian, bring out a second one, because I feel like if I don't support it, I'm not going to see that second one. Capcom still, Mighty Number 9 didn't prove that why Mega Man is not coming out from Capcom. Mighty Number 9 has nothing to do with Mega Man. If Capcom wants to do a Mega Man game, they're allowed to do it. I'd rather support more of Mighty Number 9 than I will Mega Man. Because I know, at least with Mighty Number 9, they could fix the things and they can make it better. With Mega Man, I don't think they could fix Mega Man. People just want another one to come out. They never said what to change or what they would want out of a Mega Man game. They just want another Mega Man game.
Because you don't have to change anything on Mega Man. You just have to make another Mega Man game. Mega Man games are awesome. You just need another one.
Well, yeah, they're awesome, but I think people don't want Mega Man to evolve, and I feel like it kind of does. I mean, they could bring out a Mega Man X if they want to, for like a download or something. But we're not going to get another Mega Man game. They got to still give us Mega Man Legends 3 before we get a 2D Mega Man.
I don't really care about the Legend series.
I would say, think back, last console generation, we got both Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10.
And everybody played them on the Wii.
And you know what? I think that was a great place to play it. For my money, if I'm playing an old school NES type game, I like playing it on the Wii. I'm one of those weird people that I thought flipping the Wiimote sideways and having that NES style controller was great. I liked it.
Yeah. I agree.
I like it too, depending on the game though. Like some games I don't think it really works, but for Mega Man, yes, it probably did.
Oh, yeah. So, but that's what I've been playing, and it sounds like we've made the rounds. So, this week, Futuristic Racers, a seemingly nearly extinct genre at this point. I have some wonderfully...
What is
Sorry about
that?
that. That's my cell phone going off because I didn't turn my shit on vibrate.
Oops.
Happens. But in any case, this is a genre that at one point was thriving really well. Especially right around the 64 PlayStation era. And even some into the... actually, it did fairly well even into the PlayStation 2 and GameCube and Xbox era, and then just seemed to vanish. But we can trace roots all the way back to the Super Nintendo, starting with F-Zero on the Super Nintendo. One of the biggest introductions of Mode 7. Between that and Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
Go.
I kind of want to go further than a little back behind that. I don't know if this is part of it or if people could get the idea, but Battletoads, where you're on those little
the motor, the hover bikes.
The hover bikes, and you have to jump and kind of pay attention because it was fast. And when you think of futuristic racers, you think of speed. Of course, the tracks are going to be amazing, going to be very creative, but you just really think of speed. And when we was talking about brought this topic up, like Battletoads, for some unknown reason, came to my mind, and that was the first thing I thought, because when I played Battletoads, that little hover bike thing was hard as ever.
Hell yeah, it was. That shit was tough as nails. Like, you had to have that memorized.
Yeah, you know what? I just going back to what you said about the genre just being extinct or that just disappeared for a while, or has disappeared since then. I think it's because futuristic racers aren't as easy to make as, like either traditional racing games, driving simulators, or, just
arcade games.
Funny racing games like Mario Kart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot more work. You have to put a lot more work into them to make them right. However, was last year we got was it this year or last year?
Last year.
It was this year.
Last year.
Fast Racing Neo.
Yep.
Yeah, Fast Racing Neo. Okay, last year, yeah. We got that game, and it was a spiritual successor to, F-Zero and, what's the other one? Wipeout, right?
Oh.
Yeah, Wipeout.
And you know what? Like, it was fun. Like, I played it on my friend's house. We played not co-op, just Grand Prix against each other a lot. And it was fun. It was super fantastic. The voice actor was, for the announcements, was the same guy as he did the voice on F-Zero GX on the GameCube. So that was great. It was it really felt at home on the Wii U as well too. However, I think, this may be just me, but one of the reasons I didn't like Wipeout, and I don't like Fast Racing Neo as much as just F-Zero, it's because I think it lacks some personality. Like on F-Zero, you have the cars that are all so different and they vary so much on the sign. You have the drivers themselves that drive those cars. They're so very different. They have their own bios, and like you want to know more about them. That makes F-Zero stand out way more for me than any of the other games. And I think if Fast Racing Neo had some of that built in, and I'm not talking about like a story mode or like a first first campaign or something like that.
Right.
I'm just talking, just profiles, right? That I can check after I unlock something, or I can just go into the menus and find that out there, right? Like just something more to like keep me engaged and like, oh, like I kind of want to just play with this guy because he's the way he is. It kind of sounds like me, so like I'm just gonna play as him. Or oh no, I'll play as this dude because I really like the design of his car, right? Like F-Zero is just like full of personality, and I think that's missing some of the other games, sadly. And maybe that's because we haven't seen. Oh, that's why we haven't seen another one for a while, and probably why we won't see an F-Zero until sometime during the next life cycle. Just Nintendo's probably trying to figure out, hey, what can we do different that we haven't done before, especially with Mario Kart 8 introducing anti-grav. What can we do that we haven't done before, and like what characters can we now bring into this world to make things new and fun again.
Well, with F-Zero, they would have to give it to another developer, because I think Nintendo's not really interested in making that style of racing since the Mario Kart series is completely successful. Now, my thing will be, if they do it, of course, give it to Namco. They're like one of the kings of racing games within the arcade, within the PlayStation era. Like, they know their racing games. I would trust them to make an F-Zero game than anybody else. So I think if they do break it, I think they'll probably partner up with Namco Bandai again and have them do it. And then I think Namco Bandai could really bring an awesome, somewhat arcadey feel to it, but still that hard difficulty that the F-Zero's known for.
Yeah, maybe, and that is a very fair point. I mean, Namco and Nintendo have very close relationships right now. With Smash that came out, they really helped on that, and Pac-Man being in a Smash too. So they totally should. Maybe that's the way to go. Just give it to Namco and let them co-develop that with Nintendo. However, again, just like I said, I think it's kind of hard to find new ways to make the game interesting, especially since Mario Kart 8 introduced not only anti-grav, but I forgot also 200cc, which is just so fast and so crazy,
right?
That it feels like an F-Zero game in every sense of the way, really. Because like in F-Zero, the only thing missing when you're playing Big Blue or you're playing Mute City on Mario Kart 8 on 200cc, the only thing that it's missing, that at least for me, when I'm thinking of on F-Zero or something, it's just the items, really. Because Mario Kart 8 has the items that makes things a lot crazier than they normally are. But at 200cc, it kind of just feels like an F-Zero game until you finish the line, and you go like, oh wait, I was playing as Mario, right? This is Mario Kart. This is not F-Zero.
Well, I think if Namco did do that, I think they should just make an F-Zero arcade game, because that means like more money for that series. And if it really works out well, maybe they can port it to the NX when the system come out. Because I feel like with the F-Zero series, that it's a very niche title, and a lot of people recognize it and know it for its difficulty and for its racing and how challenging it is. But I don't know how well it sells itself to a lot of people. Like, the first thing people notice about it, they would just be like, it looks fun and looks cool when other people play it. But I have a fear that it's going to kick my tail, and I'm not going to have fun if I try it.
Well, maybe, yeah.
So I think
if you go back to the original and even F-Zero X on the 64, they didn't have that punishing difficulty that GX did. Really, GX is the game that created that perception of just insanely punishing difficulty in that series. Beyond that, though, I'm curious if you really want to have Namco handle a new F-Zero, or would you like to see him go back to partnering with Sega, who did GX?
Namco has more experience than Sega does when it comes to racers. I
love it, though, and I just go, they did so good with GX. You know, that's proof enough to me that I would love to see them do it again.
Well, that depends if Sega is willing to get back into arcade business or even console business, because the way that Sega is going right about now, it would have to take a lot of work with Nintendo for that to actually happen. Where I think Nintendo feels more comfortable with Namco Bandai. Like, I don't think Nintendo is comfortable working with Sega, even though Sega makes money off of Nintendo platforms. I think actually working with Sega might be a little bit difficult with Nintendo, and I think they'll probably feel better business-wise to work with Namco Bandai because of how well Smash sold, how Mario Kart in the arcade actually is still making money for Nintendo and for Namco. Like, there's not, unless Sega's willing to do that, I don't know. It's a really toying cost. If Sega did do an F-Zero game, they would have to give me a demo. I would literally have to play a demo of that.
You have a demo. It's called F-Zero GX.
But GameCube is not on Wii U.
Well, it's not like you're going to get it on Wii U anyways.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah, sadly.
Which really, this brings up something I've always kind of scratched my head over for the last 10 years. Why on God's green earth did we never get an F-Zero on either the DS or the 3DS? I'm sitting here, I'm staring, I'm watching F-Zero GX play on my TV in front of me right now. And, you know, it's a game where so many of these ships and the designs and the courses have this, you know, very angular, polygonal look to it. And it doesn't look bad. It fits. It looks right in this series, in this context. And that's something that, you know, could translate very easily, I would imagine, to
I can answer that. Nintendo makes more money off of the Mario Kart series on handheld. They make money off of the console versions, but they make more money off of the DS and the 3DS. I don't think they'll make that much money off of F-Zero for handheld. F-Zero is known only to be on console. So for them to really try that, now I would say this: I would agree with you. If Sega did that, if Sega worked on a handheld F-Zero game for 3DS, I'm all for it because Sega makes money off of the 3DS with their Sonic games. I think they would be successful if they did it for a handheld. If they made F-Zero game, you know, put it on the eShop to download, bam, I would buy that.
Well, and F-Zero does actually have a history on handheld.
Yeah, it does.
It does. On the Game Boy Advance, there were two of them, as a matter of fact. There was F-Zero Maximum Velocity, which very much harkened back to the Super Nintendo roots. Mm-hmm. It was, you know, four ships or four racers, single player only, if I remember correct. No. It did have link up, so you could do multiplayer, but it wasn't a bad game. As a matter of fact, for those that got in on the Ambassador program, I believe Maximum Velocity was one of the games that came with it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know what? It's actually interesting. Maximum Velocity, isn't it just like a remake of the Super Nintendo version?
It's new courses, it's new ships. It's not a port. I mean, it plays like the Super Nintendo version, yes.
But the concept was all new.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
No, but I just wanted to just say a quick story about it. Maximum Velocity was just like a beautiful, awesome game that came very early on the Game Boy Advance life cycle. I'm even dare to say that it was a launch title for the Game Boy Advance, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't get my Game Boy Advance at launch. I got it a bit later after that. However, me, my cousin, my two cousins, and my sister, we all got the consoles at the same time. We were traveling through Florida back in the day, and I remember I got, which game did I get? Oh, I was stupid. I only got Pokemon Crystal instead of getting a Game Boy Advance game because I just wanted to play Pokemon Crystal. But my cousin got F-Zero Maximum Velocity, and because we had the link cable, we were all playing with just one cartridge, and it was just fantastic. It was just beautiful. We were playing all the time until batteries died. It was just great.
Oh yeah, and beyond that as well. After Maximum Velocity, we also ended up with GP Legend, which again played very much like the Super Nintendo F-Zero. However, GP Legend was much more extensive content-wise. If I remember correctly, it tied into the cartoon for F-Zero that was around at that time, however briefly that was. And it had a plethora more racers available. There was a story mode to go with it that, again, tied into that cartoon series that was out. I think it was running on the Fox Kids Network at that point.
If it was a Nintendo, it would have did.
Yep. So, and that I really, really liked GP Legend. I enjoyed it so much. I liked Maximum Velocity, but GP Legend just had so much more content and depth to it, in that same Super Nintendo style. It was adorable. It was wonderful. So there is actually a history and a pedigree for F-Zero on handheld. And like I said, it baffles me as to why it never happened on the DS or the 3DS, because it felt like such a good fit.
So here's some history about that anime. F-Zero GP Legend is a 51-episode anime series by Ashi Productions based on the video game series. It debuted in Japan on October 7, 2003 on V Broadcast Tokyo. The final episode aired on September 28, 2004. 4Kids Entertainment licensed the anime series for North America, and it was on the Fox Box channel, which is probably pretty much Fox. But the thing about it is that 15 episodes of GP Legend aired on it before it got canceled. So it kind of sucks. So there's a lot of it that we didn't get to see, but who knows? Probably on YouTube, you could probably watch the whole series. But yeah,
it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, it has to be.
So
that sucks. 15 episodes, crap.
Yeah, but but yeah, just F-Zero though did see a big jump in its own evolution, going just from its first game to its second. Though, we went from that flat mode 7 on the Super Nintendo to when the 64 came out, we got F-Zero X, and we saw it evolve very, very rapidly to where we had, full-blown 3D models, these just tremendous, amazing roller coaster courses to play through. I remember being so enamored with it on the 64. The courses just blew my mind because suddenly, there were like tunnels that I was riding inside of, and you could feel the gravity playing on the vehicle, the centrifugal force, trying to pull your racer to the outside, the far end of the tunnel, and on top of that, the outside tunnels where you're actually riding on the outside of this cylinder, and you can literally take a turn so hard that you can just fly off the course into into the pit. I remember just as I want to say I was in about middle school at the time. Just looking at it going, wow, this is the coolest shit ever. And then, 12, 13 years ago, GX comes out, and it just took everything I loved about it and made it so much better. One of my favorite little details about GX was the fact that you could flip onto bumper cam. And not only was it just, bumper cam to give you that different perspective, but the little details of the fact that you could hear the ground roaring underneath you. It was amazing. It gave you the very distinct feel of being strapped to the front of one of these machines in just this sickening, awesome way.
Nice.
Yeah, F-Zero. Oh man, like I miss F-Zero so much now that we're talking about it.
So
I really want to just go and play F-Zero GX, which again I'm still fascinated by the fact that everybody thinks it's so hard, and I thought it was so easy.
probably it was because it was something new, and people there were just people who didn't understand the history of F-Zero, like the gameplay, and people who didn't play the Super Nintendo version, like when it first started, probably wouldn't understand why GX and the like sequels to these games have been popular, and why people sometimes, if they really want a challenging racing game, F-Zero was the one to go to.
Yeah, and as far as GX being hard, the Grand Prix mode wasn't bad. The real brutality came in trying to play through the story mode. That's where it got gnarly.
That's what I play. That's what I spend most of my time on. And I didn't think it was that hard. I mean, yeah, it was difficult at some points, but I still managed to do everything.
So what? Well, one last thing to touch on with F-Zero before we jump tracks here. One of the things that yeah, I know it was wah.
I got it now. I'm sorry.
I feel a little bad for having inadvertently made that joke.
I love it. I love it.
It was fantastic, man.
But one of the things that Fast Racing Neo has that I really, really like, and it makes me just yearn for F-Zero on an updated console now, is the fact that, and especially they did it so well with Mario Kart as well. Dear God, online play. Bring me online play.
I agree.
Fast Racing Neo, the online multiplayer, very, very smooth, really good, very enjoyable. When Nintendo brought out Mario Kart 8 and expanded the racer count on the track, they still managed to lock it down and have this wonderfully smooth multiplayer experience online. And I would love to see that brought over to F-Zero.
And the tournament things for Mario Kart 8 is still going on. So think of it. If Nintendo did an F-Zero and opened it up to, because there's like, let's say, do a 16-person race for F-Zero online. My to me personally, my mind would be blown, because it really would challenge different players around the world, and it will make you want to get better so you can get number one.
Oh yeah, and that's something that always struck me. As much as Mario Kart Online is still played and it's still very good, Mario Kart is so much chance involved. A game like F-Zero is so definitively skill based.
Yes.
There is no lucking into a win. You have to be better than everybody else.
Exactly.
So,
And
that's good for competition.
And for people who don't understand, I feel like Mario Kart is for the beginner or casual racer. It's very arcadey, really able to get into. It could be competitive if you want to make it, but you know, you will have fun. Where F-Zero is, you have got to practice. You have got to focus, and you have got to like hit every turn, hit every arrow, fast arrow, whatever thing it is. Like
Yeah.
you got to learn how to drift correctly. Like, you have to be skilled. And if it came out as a $60 game, it would be worth it. They could put just 10 tracks in the game and do DLC later. You would have to study each and every track and get better, because if you don't, if you think that you're just going to be able to play around and just have some fun, no, you're going to get left in the dust. F-Zero pulls no punches. Like, F-Zero is the hardcore racer for anyone who is into racing games.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is the epitome of precision racing. You know, the name comes from the concept that it is the future of Formula One racing, where it's you know, hardcore precision, and it's a wonderful thing. If you've never experienced it, do so. GX is a little tough to get a hold of, but you know, if you've got a Wii or a Wii U, you know, you can easily get a hold of a copy of the original F-Zero and F-Zero X.
I think it's also on 3DS.
So
it might be a new Nintendo 3DS.
that's very possible as well too. I'm not sure if that's hit the eShop there yet, but
Can you get F-Zero GP on the Wii U too?
yes. No, I take that back. I think Maximum Velocity's out. GP, maybe.
I'm gonna do a quick search while you guys keep talking.
But that being said, you know, let's get into the other big heavy hitter of the genre. Let's talk Wipeout. We're going to harken back to the PlayStation 1, where Wipeout was born, and from Psygnosis brought us the Wipeout series, and that stayed native to the PlayStation all throughout its life.
All it took was the demo disc. If you first brought the I think it was $300 at the time, the PlayStation 1 when it came out. If you bought the system and you didn't have no game and you played the demo disc, you were going to play Wipeout over and over and over again. Like, not only is the music great in that game, but if you missed out on F-Zero, Wipeout was the game to get. And graphics didn't really matter to me at that time, and it still doesn't matter. It was just a fun racer. It felt so fast, and it's easier to get into than I think F-Zero. But it's still to this very day, and I wish it came back. It still holds up good. Like, it made you really want to get the game when it came out for PlayStation 1.
Oh, absolutely. Wipeout was almost the exact flip side of the coin from F-Zero. Aesthetically, it wasn't as nearly as much to look at,
Yes.
but it had a very distinct art style. Beyond that, though, the ships were a lot more samey, but more importantly, though, how it played and how it handled was just the polar opposite of F-Zero. F-Zero was very fast, very pinpoint, precision control, whereas Wipeout was a lot more about getting to really get a handle on the very floaty controls of futuristic racers. You know, it played very heavily on the concept of the fact that there was no contact with the ground, and so, you know, you didn't have traction so much, so you really had to understand how to drift through the turns and to actually hit the brakes and you know, and how to really break into a turn in order to keep your momentum and not end up dead last every time.
Yeah.
I did a quick search, and F-Zero GP, it is in fact on the Wii U Virtual Console for $6.99.
Excellent. Go buy it. It's worth $7.
Yeah, I think I might get it too, actually.
It was a ton of fun. Definitely worth the $7.
And at the $15 with Fast Racing Neo, do not forget that game. Spend the $22 or whatever on two of some really great futuristic games.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Fast Racing Neo is one I would love to. You both have it, don't you?
Not yet. I haven't gotten it yet. I apologize, everybody. I haven't got it yet.
I don't think I got it just because the day it came out, I was at a friend's house, and I just bought it on his Wii U, and I forgot about it. So we just like play a lot of it at his place, and every time I go, we play like a race or two. But I don't think I bought it on my personal Wii U console, sadly.
Oh.
Yeah, I you know what? I'll ask him for the money. Just, hey, remember when I bought this game for you? Can I get it too?
Right.
Just throw that out there.
I will be buying it.
You guys.
Yeah, I will be buying it so me and you can race Larry, because I know you got probably a better skill than me, but once I learn it, it's on.
Tell you, man, when you come visit in August, that's another one we're going to get down on if you don't have it already. But, we'll take a little time. We'll bust out some GX as well, though.
Oh, I'm going to get murdered in that game.
Dude, not only that, we'll not only bust out GX, we'll flip it into 3D.
Yes.
We'll play some GX in 3D.
There you go.
Yeah, but Wipeout has been a very popular series to the PlayStation brand. And still to this day, I think it, just like all the games, some people could say that it's been up and down, but I think Wipeout has always been consistent, and it has always been about the speed, it's always been about the tracks, and definitely for me with Wipeout, it's always been the music. Like, it has to have that trance house pounding, not so much dubstep, but it had to really get you into the mood of racing, because the music just fitted so well. And
it's not even pounding so much, it's more of a pulsating.
Yeah.
It does set the mood so well. Their choice of music to fit their aesthetic was spot on.
Yeah, my problem with Wipeout is, just like I mentioned before, it's just the lack of personality really hits me hard whenever I'm playing that game. Now, to be fair, I haven't played like all of them. I played one on beta, and I think was there one on PSP?
Yes.
I think I played that. Yes,
Yeah,
I played
so.
that one. That one was, well, I don't know. They were kind of fun, but again, they were not really for me. I still miss F-Zero. I still like F-Zero a lot more, and maybe the comparison is just too hard, and I maybe just need to step back and just enjoy the game for what it is.
And I can understand. I think that's what Wipeout was, just something to enjoy. Because if you wasn't playing Wipeout when it first came out, you had Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
It's true. Very true.
To be fair, as much as everybody makes fun of it, I still like me some Ridge Racer.
Yeah, I still enjoy it too.
What was up that PlayStation 3 announcement? Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer.
And then nobody clap. That was so funny.
That's
Man,
one of the best
E3
fall flat moments ever.
Yeah, E3 is just full of weird moments like that.
Oh. But yeah, no, I actually Wipeout was one of the few games that really made me think about getting a PSP back in the day when those were spanky new and I couldn't afford one. That and Lumines. But No, it looked really good on the PSP too. It was a good fit for it. It looked gorgeous on that nice big wide, beautiful bright color screen.
Yes.
It looked pretty and it played pretty.
Pretty.
It fit well. It translated well. One of the low points though for the Wipeout series actually was when it hit the PS2, and that might have been part of what did it in. PS2 had Wipeout Pure. No, was it Pure? There was a Wipeout game on PS2, and I remember playing it thinking, this is just not good comparatively. And it was okay, but it just didn't hold up the same as the first few on the PlayStation 1. And I wonder if that's not part of what did in the series, because Wipeout hasn't been seen since I think Pure was the PSP Wipeout. I think that was the last one that they put out, if I remember correctly.
No, I'm not sure.
But it's a shame that series, again, much like F-Zero, just disappeared off the map.
Actually, Wipeout, Create, and Crash was the last one, because that came out October 15th of 2013.
What was that?
Wipeout, Create, and Crash.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, October 15th, 2013. That was the last one.
Weird.
Yeah, because the Wipeout series was owned by actually Activision. So they're the ones that published it. Two of the games, Wipeout in the Zone, was published by Behavior Interactive, and Wipeout Create and Crash was done by Behavior Interactive.
Are you sure you're not talking about the Wipeout,
I hope not.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
Oh, you know what? It is. Sorry. That's the game show one. I was looking because it said US video game. It said any various video game, but it says based on the show, which is weird. So apologize to that, everybody. Just ignore that. Keep it walking.
However, just a quick side note: Wipeout the game show. It's actually pretty fun.
It is.
Oh,
I enjoy watching the show so much.
Okay, so here we go. Wipeout 2048 was PlayStation Vita. Wipeout HD was PlayStation 3. Wipeout Pulse was PlayStation was PSP and PS2. Wipeout Fusion was the last was on PlayStation 2, but I think Wipeout Pulse was on PlayStation, was the last one on PlayStation 2. So that's what it was.
Yeah, Fusion was not so good. And I think that's where things may have started to derail. I remember the one on PSP being really good, and I wonder if just that series had worn out its welcome when it released Fusion on the PS2, and it was just not good, which is really kind of a shame. But
ooh, this is new. Sony Liverpool had been working on a Wipeout game for the upcoming PlayStation 4 console when the studio was closed on August 22nd, 2012.
Lame.
That is very disappointing.
So.
But no, like I said, Wipeout though, for all it was worth, the PS1 was really the golden era of that series. 3 games on one console generation for that series, and they were all fantastic. They all just kept getting better. Again, it wasn't so much precision, but it did have a certain need to learn how to finesse the controls.
Mm-hmm.
So it really did take its own certain set of skills to master. And, the aesthetic on that game was very different from what F-Zero was pushing, but it was still good all the same. It was just, it was a little more flat, almost cel-shaded-ish. but like Eddie touched on, oh my God, the music just put you in that happy place for it.
Such good. Again, title, and I want to kind of bring up side title, was the Star Wars Racing. That was kind of based off of, I think, was it episode 1? I think it was.
Episode 1.
On Pod Racer.
Yes.
Yeah, Pod Racer.
Yes, and more yes. Why?
That game is good.
On Virtual Console, I need to be able to download this somewhere, please.
Yeah, I remember playing it on N64.
Mm-hmm.
It is on PS4, I think.
Is it really?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's what you're
Disney released like these, I don't know how they call it, but I'm just gonna call it like Legacy Pack or whatever, which has a bunch of really old school Star Wars games available for digital download. You know what's even funnier? Like Super Star Wars, it's there.
the Super Nintendo one.
Yeah.
And that game is automatic garbage. I cannot stand that game. I couldn't get past the hit detection is horrible on that. I'm sorry, Adrian. I'm sorry, everybody. Futuristic racers. I'm gonna stay on topic.
Stay on topic, yes. But no, episode 1, Racer. Was that the name? I forgot the actual name of the
Pod
game.
Racer.
Pod Racer.
Star Wars Episode 1, Pod Racer.
Really? I didn't know I had the pod in there, but anyway. That game was good. Me and my friends, we played it a lot on the N64. However, we also had a copy of F-Zero X, and that always took the win for us at the end of the day.
Yes!
Like, it was like, I don't know why we were so into racing games back then, but we were always switching between those two, Mario Kart 64, of course. Oh, no, and I think I had a copy of Diddy Kong Racing, so it was actually 4 games. We were always switching between those, and, you know, like, we'll get some, like, story mode on Diddy Kong Racing, then go on some battle mode on Mario Kart 64, and then play some, like, quick races on Star Wars Racer, and we always ended up playing in F-Zero X, though, and it was just fantastic. Good times for sure.
Yeah. No, Pod Racer was great. I loved Pod Racer on the 64.
Yeah, I had
so
a blast with that game.
We've got an arcade local here, and I believe they've still got a couple of Pod Racer arcade machines, if I remember right.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Oh my goodness.
I'll have to check and see if it's still there, and if it is, when you're here, Eddie, we'll go.
Yay!
So, but yeah, no, Pod Racer was great. You know, you could play as Anakin, and you could play as the Bulba, and then you could play as all the other characters from Pod Racing, and that one scene in Star Wars Episode 1 that nobody fucking remembers. But there were options, and the courses were great, too. The courses were very well done. So, you know, granted there was only one course in the film, but they expanded on it very competently for the game, and they took one scene from a movie and stretched it into a full competent racing game, and you know, and did it very well. And that's a hard thing to do.
The controls work. The controls were like really easy in that game.
Absolutely, it was very easy to understand the concept. You know, it was not hard to really grasp and just go with. And that was a wonderful thing. You know, but unfortunately, the Pod Racer was kind of a one-off, and there's been a few other one-offs in the futuristic racing genre as well. Though I may have to bite my tongue for a minute because I think there may have been a sequel to Pod Racer somewhere that just kind of showed up and nobody noticed. But I'd have to look into that. I have a vague recollection that there was something, but I might be hallucinating that.
Me?
No, yes, there was.
Oh, go ahead.
There was a follow-up. It was on PS2. I remember this. There was a second pod racing game.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really? Where?
Yes, I remember this now. Son of a bitch. Let me look this up real quick. But I remember that there was another pod racing game that came out, in the PS2 and Xbox era, and it did not do well. It just didn't stack up to what was released on the 64.
Was it after that terrible fighting game that came for Star Wars?
I think so.
Oh my goodness. Well, while you looking that up, George from Simon's Cake podcast, me and him was having a discussion, and I talked to him about futuristic racers, and he brought up Extreme G. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I forgot all about that game, and I never got a chance to play Extreme G. But he was just like, the fun that he had with that game, and I might have to hunt me a copy and play it. Extreme G is like kind of like a motorcycle game in a futuristic races, and it looks really fun and really nice. We were just talking about that, and I'm like, wow. I also wonder, and this might be going to my old school roots. There's a game called Outrun by Sega, and it never went futuristic, and I always wonder why. I wonder if they could have took the Outrun franchise and made it futuristic. Sega, why you didn't do that? Why?
I remember Outrun as being a very kind of racing down the beach type game.
Yeah.
You know, that very California racer, and I don't know if that would have ever been a fit. There was Star Wars Racer Revenge on the PlayStation 2.
Really?
Oh, goodness,
Yeah.
that sounds so generic.
It does, doesn't it? It wasn't great. It didn't sell well.
Well, I don't know if it was just their generic, but it was probably the fact that it was on the just a PS2, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was probably the reason why I've never even heard of it. I didn't grow up with the PS2, and I was never really a fan of it.
Can we count Sonic R as a futuristic racer since it was kind of fast? I really don't know.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that fast. It
Okay.
was toe toe with Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing. It's good. It's just not fast.
Yeah, I quite liked Sonic R back in the day. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, but yeah, there was Extreme G went for, I believe, about four installments. And I believe the last one landed on the Xbox, PS2, and the GameCube all, actually. But yeah, there was Extreme G 1, 2, and 3, and then came the last installment in that series was XGRA, all of which, like you said, it was very much a futuristic motorcycle racing game. It was kind of like the F-Zero with motorcycles, except your racers were actually people that were just like holding on to wheels.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it when the PS2 first came out, going, "The hell is this?" But it's really cool, and I want to play more of it. So, the controls on that series were a little tough to get a handle on. They never felt quite right to me, and maybe it was just me. And despite this, I still loved playing it. I just never could quite wrap my brain around what it was getting at. The courses were great fun. They were well designed. Much like Wipeout, the music was very on point for the Extreme G series as well.
Mm-hmm.
And aesthetically, it had the right look for a futuristic racer. It really did. Lots of black and neon, and yeah. Unfortunately, I think Extreme G almost came off as too generic for its own good. I think it fit the epitome of the genre too well in regards to its aesthetic. I think that it just looked so on point that nobody cared because it didn't have anything that really made it stand out from anything else. Which is really kind of a shame, because like I said, it wasn't a bad game by any stretch. It was a really good series, and this is coming from somebody that, fucking sucks at it. I'm terrible at those games. I'm awful, but I still love to play them.
Yeah, they're just very enjoyable. That's the whole thing behind them. Again, I don't know why, like, GX was kind of like a weird for me, but yeah, I don't know. I like those games too.
Oh yeah. Beyond that, though, there were a couple of other one-offs in the genre. I do distinctly remember back on the GameCube, because I had to fight to get my hands on a copy of it back when I worked at the game shop many moons ago. Again, a little generic, but it was still kind of a decent fix at the time. There was a game called Tube Slider.
Oh, I remember that game.
Yeah. So, not a real big print run, but like I said, it wasn't anything to really write home about, but it was a decent supplemental fix to F-Zero on the GameCube at the time, and little did I realize, that would probably be the last big future racer, to come out for a long, long while. That really had that look and feel of F-Zero. The controls were just a tidge sloppier. The courses were not bad, but unlike F-Zero, as the name implies, it was very much about riding inside those cylinder courses where you had full 360 course to play around on, as opposed to a flat course, which had its own uniqueness to it, but it lacked anything that really made it special, unfortunately.
It was one of those B-rated, C-rated games that, when a AAA game didn't come out, or you couldn't afford it, there would be kind of like a budget title from like a lower developer, and sometimes the quality is not satisfying, but it is a game, and you might end up getting some enjoyment out of it, because I don't think it had a big print run. Like, no, I believe that game just came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't even see no advertisement or anything about that game. It was just like, oh, that's on the shelf? Okay.
Yep, and that was pretty much exactly how it happened. That, like you said, not a bad game, and I find myself now thinking about trying to find a copy of it, truthfully, as much as I shouldn't. But beyond that, on the Wii, there was actually if you were looking to get your F-Zero style fix, there was one game that came out on the Wii that kind of had the feel, and it wasn't bad. Despite the fact I honestly thought that if Nintendo ever tried to do F-Zero on the Wii, if they did it with motion controls, I would probably throttle somebody to death. Mm-hmm. Just because that game needs more precision than motion controls would ever lend it. However, I did get my hands on a good sampling that played very well, even with motion controls, and that was Speed Racer, the game, on the Wii. So, think back to when the movie Speed Racer came out, and there was a game. Yeah.
There's another one, though, because I thought you was going to talk about the Excite Bike one that came on Wii.
Sorry, I finally... It was taking me a while to remember which game you were talking about. I think I did play the Speed Racer game on the Wii, and I think I remember liking it too, though.
Yeah. Like, for a movie game, shockingly good.
Yeah.
It was really good. Because, like, they didn't... and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because this was, again, many years ago, and like it's just a faint memory in my brain right now. But I think they didn't really try to like tie it into the movie too much. It was just like a racing game with the license, right?
That's all it was, and it was great for that fact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, that game was awesome.
Yeah, it's okay. Larry. So I thought where you was gonna go besides Speed Racer, Excite Bots Trick Racing.
Ah,
that was on the Wii. That's how I thought you was going. But when you said Speed Racer, I'm like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot all about that game.
Oh yes, Yes, and like I said, I played it. I'm like, this gives me a little bit of hope that if we get F-Zero on the Wii, that motion controls could be okay, because it actually worked really well on there. I had a great time with it, and then it just never came, and I was left going, what happened? Because eventually the Wii finally came and went, and there was no sign of my game. I'm like, we've had one for the past 3 console generations, just one per, and that's fine. I was perfectly happy with that. But then there wasn't any, and I thought, okay, maybe we'll see it show up on a handheld, and maybe we'll see it show up on the next console, and here we are, coming to the end of the next console, and dear Lord, over the course of 2 handhelds, no love in sight, and it saddens me. But there was a little shining beacon of hope, and that somebody made it work with these motion controls that I honestly thought would never work for something like this. It just demands this kind of precision, and I thought somebody gave you the model to how to do it. Even all you got to do is follow it, and they didn't. But it gave me a little glimmer of hope that somebody did it so well and made something so enjoyable.
Yeah.
There was a great game in there for those looking to get their fix, and it was Speed Racer. Of all the weird things, I'm just like, that's so strange.
Go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go. Oh, I used to watch that on MTV at night.
Go Speed Racer, and don't come back until you bring me a new F-Zero.
Yeah. We totally need a new game.
So, but yeah, there were little beacons of hope that, one of these 2 big heavy hitter series of the genre would, come back because, somebody did one and did it well, and, it didn't sell well, but I kind of understand why Speed Racer didn't sell well. You see it and you go, oh, it's a fucking movie game, and you don't touch it just because, conditioning has told us you don't buy movie games because they're all terrible. But, you could probably go out and find it on Amazon for a couple dollars and totally get some love out of it. I would recommend it highly. It was good fun.
But, you know what? I think I've seen it at EV Games here a couple of times. So, you know what? If I find it for like $15 or so, I may pick it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And likely you'll probably see it for less than $15. You'll probably see it for $4 or $5 somewhere.
Right.
Maybe, yeah.
Holy shit!
What?
So I'm looking up Tube Slider on Amazon here, and they want $30 for it.
No.
Damn.
Like, really? So that might be an actual new copy.
I'll wait for the Midwest Gaming Classic for next year. Go and see what they have to offer. Because sometimes they have, like, racing games that, like, really nobody really talks about or don't care. And they'll only be, like, maybe $10 or $7. So if I see a copy, I'll make sure to pick one up.
All right, $30 for an actual new sealed copy. I'm almost okay with that.
Okay.
You can find some other copies of Tube Slider on Amazon for like $4 or $5. But yeah. Also, one other in there that, again, very under the radar and didn't do well, but I vaguely remember playing bits of it going, this is not great either, was, what the hell was it? Hypersonic Racer. It was very, very generic, and nothing about it stood out to me in the least other than the fact that it wasn't fun either. Yeah. That's one of those better left buried and dead.
We call them bargain bins, everybody.
Uh-huh. But yeah, it's... So there have been a few nuggets, here and there to try and get us through while the 2 big shining beacons of futuristic racers have gone tragically dormant. But unfortunately, they're very few and far between. And And we can't round this out without talking about the last beacon of hope that we got, most recently, Fast Racing Neo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know how well Fast Racing Neo did on the Wii U. I mean, it probably sold well considering like people just wanted a new F-Zero game, and they just wanted, and the Wii U specifically. Sometimes there's like, big gaps between major titles, and I think Fast Racing Neo came just between some of those gaps. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people picked it up. I just hope that company is working on a sequel or something else along the same lines, because I want to see now, like after talking so much about this and remembering GX so fondly, and now remembering as well the Speed Racer game on Wii, I just want a new game. I just want something new too.
Well, with Fast Racing Neo, it was actually a middle finger to that one company who was supposed to release a racing game for Wii U. It was like a Kickstarter game, and they kept delaying the Wii U version because they couldn't get the rain effects and all this craziness out. So when the game actually came out for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it had so many problems, and really didn't nobody care. So when Fast Racing Neo came out, it really, I believe it sold well, and people was talking about how good it was, and that of course the game is gonna always have problems, but it was an indie title, and that Fast Racing Neo kind of just made up for what was missing, that futuristic racing lovers were missing. It was giving them that fix. Once you hear, if you're a person who loves the F-Zero series, if you hear anything that's related to it and you see that, okay, I see where it's going with the F-Zero name and how it does, I'm probably going to be interested in playing it. And then if you play it and it feels like F-Zero to you, you're hooked. And that just becomes a word of mouth game that you tell people that, hey, you need to really pick this title up because it's worth the purchase. It's worth playing. But yeah, it was a big FU to that, to the other racing game that came out, because they just canceled the Wii U version because they said they couldn't get it 60 frames per second and they couldn't get the weather and stuff. Well, shoot, your game was broken on the other two systems, and it was a Kickstarter game at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Fast Racing Neo nailed all of that. Really, in the reviews too, it reviewed so well that mostly the only complaint that anybody ever had about it in the reviews is we just want more content, but, we only paid $15 for it, so we're going to show up and not bitch and just hope we get another one.
Pretty much. And people are still buying the game and playing it.
Oh, and as they should. My only word of warning or word to the wise is, if you're going into Fast Racing Neo, looking for your F-Zero fix, be forewarned. While, yes, they build it as the spiritual successor to Fast Racing Neo, or to F-Zero, because, they brought over the announcer, be aware, know to expect that it's going to feel more like, and look more like Wipeout than F-Zero.
Totally will, yeah.
You've got the very long, slender, fork machines, and on top of that, the controls, it feels much more floaty, like Wipeout did, than it really felt, that very on-point precision that F-Zero had. So, know what you're jumping into, and it doesn't make it a bad game, just maybe misrepresented just a little bit.
But you know what, Larry? Having that Wipeout connection to it, shoot, that still sells me because it's a good title.
Absolutely. So, but that being said, I think we've kind of made our final lap on this. We've covered most of everything that's out there. I know, another terrible joke. So, final roundup. Eddie, where can we find you online?
You guys can find me on SoundCloud, iTunes, and on Google Play, and the AnomalousRadioNetwork.podbean.com. I host a show called Optional Opinion, where you can subscribe, where I talk random things about video games. You can follow me on Twitter at ThatRetrocode, ThatRetrocode. And you can friend me on Facebook under Ever Varnell. You can also join our World 101 Podcast Facebook page. Come talk to us about video games. When this episode released, you will also get a discussion about Skyward Sword from The Legend of Zelda, featuring my special guest, George, from the Simon Cake podcast. So do check that out. Also, we want to hear from you guys. You can email the show at world11podcast@gmail.com. That's WORLD11 PODCAST @gmail.com.
Right on. And Adrian, pimp your shit.
Right, you guys can find me online on Twitter at Bojox, that's BOJOXZ, or C for my American friends. Yeah, you can find me online there if you want to just have a conversation. Of course, again, join the Facebook page. We're always there, ready to talk if you want to discuss any video game goodness, or any type of goodness, really, just nothing bad, because I don't like sad stuff. Yeah, just check out the NBC Video Game Book Club. We're wrapping up on Codename Steam, and if my memory serves me right, although I haven't announced it there, Paper Mario won for the N64 month of July. I'm just gonna do a quick check, but I think that was the latest poll results. Yes, and it won by a big difference. So yeah, I'm very excited to be playing that next. Of course, go to thefirstmachine.com so you can check what we're up to. Game Tuna Cycle. Finally, and now I can say this with super certainty, it is finally coming out. Probably by the time you're hearing this, it's out. So go on iTunes and on the App Store and Google Play. Download it, play it, and then hate me because I make crappy games or something. I don't know.
No,
you can
you
just
work
tell me
hard.
if it's crappy or not.
You work hard to make good games. You're a developer. Always believe in your product. If you have to defend it, but always be happy that you were able to pour out the things that you love, and you show your passion through your work.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So, so that's happening very soon. And I didn't go to an event that we're having today, the Classic Video Game Championship that happened here in the city now over the weekend. I was busy yesterday with the wedding, and I was just feeling too sick today to go to such event. But we made it to the local news. Tuna Cycle was shown just briefly on the 6 p.m. news. So that was really exciting, seeing the game that I've been working on for a while just shown on TV. It's just a fantastic feeling. So just go to thefirstmachine.com and check it out.
Nice.
And one last thing before we end the show. Next week, we are having our Smash Brothers discussion. So the thing is, and you guys can email the show at world11podcast@gmail.com. You have 36 characters to make a Smash Arcade game with Nintendo. So, because 4 characters are already taken out, Mario, Luigi, Princess, and Bowser, you have 32 characters to come up with. Now, you could choose any video game title that you want, but you have to have 4 characters from that one title. We will be having that discussion next week, so I can't wait to hear everybody's list. It's going to be a really good discussion. So, if you haven't wrote your list, email us so we can read your list on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. And I am out there on Facebook. Quick request. We're trying to get an idea of, just who out there is listening. If you're listening, do us a favor. Just, drop a line and say, hey, I'm here out on the Facebook page. Just so we kind of have an idea of, what and who's out there and who we're reaching. Beyond that, I think I'm finally going to get around to dropping my friend code information up on the Facebook page. and maybe we can get some fast racing Neo going.
Yes, that would be lovely.
So, that being said, so hopefully you'll be able to find me out on the Wii U and over on Xbox Live, Megatron 0016, on Facebook. Larry is always right giver. That's it for us for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. It's gone by just so fast. Breakneck speed. So, we look forward to seeing you, talking to you guys next week as well. And that's it for us. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.